What is up, humans of the cardboard? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we have a top 10 video. Today I'm looking at the top 10 cards from King's Court. This is the new side set that's coming out in like less than a week, or actually about a week, give or take a couple hours. But it's a really cool set. I like the set overall. But keep in mind, it's a side set. There's not supposed to be, a million cards everybody's looking for in a side set that's only 60 cards. But I think there's some good reprints. I think there's some solid imports and some cool new cards as well. And so today we're looking at the top 10. Keep in mind, guys, this is my personal top 10 list. So feel free to let me know down below what you would put in your top 10, what you would shuffle around, because this is just for me. But without further ado, let's just jump into it. Let's start off with, of course, the first card, World Legacy Guard Dragon. I didn't want to put too many reprints on here, but there were two reprints specifically that stood out to me as stuff that did make me excited. The first one is World Legacy Guard Dragon. This is such a generic extender for any dragon deck that I think it's generic enough that any player would want to get their hands on, just for when, if and when they ever decide to switch over to a dragon deck, this card should probably be considered. The fact that it stays on the field as continuous, just icing on the cake, because one, you get the ability to shuffle around zones, but also for stuff like Forbidden Droplets, or for any generic cards that come out that say, like, pop one of your cards to do something, send one of your cards to the grave to do something. This card just gives you extra value there, and you got to really appreciate that. So this card is insane. It just helps any player that ever wants to play dragons ever again, and that's really good. Next one is obviously Lightning Storm, but like I said, right, reprints aren't worth as much to me. I mean, obviously this is a card I don't have. Neither of these cards I have, so that's why I think they're like up there. There's stuff like Evelzar Dolka and other reprints in here, but I just think like the only people that need Evelzar Dolka are dinosaur players. And if you're a dinosaur player, there is no way you've been going all this time without Dolka. You've already had Dolka, so this reprint doesn't really change that much for you. But anyway, Lightning Storm, just such a great generic going second card. Great if you can main deck it if you're playing a hard going second strategy, or it's just a phenomenal like going second side deck card for just handling boards or back row, given the situation. So it's just insanely powerful, right? So gotta love it. Then we get to this. This is like the only picture they had for this. Is Magnet Induction. This card is really, really cool. This is the first like legit Magnet Warrior support we've gotten since the structure deck. And I love it. It's actually a pretty good card. It's good extender generically. It does require you to have a Magnet Warrior already on field, which isn't the best, but it's obviously easy to do. The other thing that could have made this better is if it was a quick play. That way you could like respond to your opponent trying to just remove your normal summon. But still, I think all things considered, this card's pretty good for what Magnet Warriors have. Hopefully we'll get more down the line, but it's just a good card. Just as you control level 4 lower Magnet Warrior, summon a level 4 lower Magnet Warrior straight from the deck. And Magnet Warriors can't be destroyed by card effects till the end of the turn, which is pretty good protection as well. So good card. I like what it's doing. It's definitely helping expedite the deck. The deck just needs like a more legit win condition. They have to lean off of the fusion monster. That card is just requires too much. And I don't know if it's good enough to really warrant that much resource. But yeah, still a really cool card. I love Magnet Warriors. Next up, Zolga. What is this? Zolga the Prophet, I think is the name. This card's really interesting. It says, one, if you just have an Earth Fairy on field, it jumps out of the hand. But also part of the same effect, he also lets you look at the top 5 cards from either your opponent's deck, which is just insane. I mean, obviously knowledge is pretty crazy. It is top of the deck though, so you don't know your opponent's hand, but it does let you at least put them on like the kind of deck they're playing, right? If you look at the top 5 cards, you're going to find out what deck they're playing most likely, unless you hit a very specific set of 5 cards that aren't too specific, or like that aren't too specific in telling you what they're playing. But it's a cool card. I like that it extends itself to then get you into that effect. Just Earth Fairy is like such an underdeveloped thing. It just like barely exists. So unless we get like an Earth Fairy archetype where this card can actually be not just an extender, but a card that allows you to get knowledge of your opponent's deck game one going first, then I don't think it's really going to come up that much. So cool card. It just takes a specific circumstance to be facilitated. Next up, we have White Rose Cloister. This card's really cool. It's essentially Valhalla Hall of the Fallen, but for plants. It's just like if you control no monsters, once per turn you can special summon a plant from the hand. Pretty good. It also has a second effect. I think it's a battle phase effect, but I don't think it's that relevant. It's just a nice extender, right? I think it's cool because we've been getting stuff like the Sanavalons and the Rikas fairly recently, and I actually think they're both decent plant archetypes, which is really cool. So we're just getting more and more plant stuff. This card becomes more and more good. We get another archetype that becomes splashable with those other two. Maybe that could be a legit like amalgamation deck that just works, kind of like Dragon, like how it's just like a bunch of really good dragon cards thrown together. This could be the next form of that if we just keep getting plant decks and support. So cool. Like it could just be a useful card. What makes that card even better is Rose Princess here. She has two effects. If your opponent controls more monsters than you, she can just summon herself from the hand. Actually, I think she just says if your opponent controls a monster, she can just summon herself from the hand. So she's an extender that way. Or you can just discard her from hand to search White Rose Cloister. So they go hand in hand that way. Could be a nice small package for a plant-based deck just to start getting bodies on the field without taking up your normal summon. That's the big thing, right? Like if you want to use your normal summon on a Rika Petal or the Sanavalon, the Sunseed like vanilla, which actually gets you good value by himself, or like Lone Fire Blossom, right? Like this just helps you already start putting bodies on the board before even committing to that. So if you do get hand trapped, you're in a slightly better position there to continue to combo off. Pretty cool cards though, just good like generic plants. Next up we have Crystal Girl. This is a really, really interesting card. I'm definitely going to pick this card up because I am really intrigued by it. She's very specific, right? She's water support. So when she's normal summoned or special summoned, on the end phase of that turn, you can add any level 5 or higher water monster from deck to hand. Okay? And then also when she's in grave, what is it? It's like if she's in grave, you control a level 5 water monster, level 5 or higher water monster. You can like special summon her back from the grave, but she'll be banished when she next leaves the field. By the way, that second summon, I believe, will still trigger her effect again to search on end phase. So she's a really cool card. Though her biggest problem, obviously, is that she is slower. So like you're going to summon her, she searches on end phase. But we do have some new stuff. We do have stuff like Earth's Arctic, which is cool because they want their monsters act like hand traps in the hand, and she lets you search them because they're all like level 7 and 8s in hand, and so they're like hand traps that way. So she kind of going first just lets you search for those, while also giving you a level of recursion. If you just have them on the field going into your next turn, any of them, she just comes back. She's going to get you another search. She's just another body also, which is pretty damn good. So I like this card. I think it's specifically good in some decks more than others. But if it's a grindier water deck that has higher level monsters, this card becomes like immediately interesting to me. So really cool card. It just takes a specific deck, but I do think it may find a place at some point in the future. Next up is Gilta Gearfried, I think is the name. He's just a super polite target. What he does is he allows you to attack for a bunch of damage, but he just takes any 2 warrior monsters with different attributes. So if you're playing against Infernobles, right, you get hit a nice soul, then whatever they summon off of Ice Soul, assuming it's not light, it'll probably almost never be light. So that's strong, right? So yeah, it's a cool card. It's mainly just a super poly target though. I don't expect it being too much outside of a super poly target, but yeah, it's just generic that way. So I think it ends up being like, just like we have stuff like Crystal Girl and them, they're just a little specific, right? Plants, high level waters. This guy's just, warrior. So yeah. Next up we have number 2. This is number 2 on the list. We have this guy. I think, what's his name? It's not Thousand Eyes Idols. He has a different name. But he's really cool. Pretty much the most important thing that he does is once per turn as a quick effect, you can just look at your opponent's hand. That's it. That's pretty much it. Just look at your opponent's hand. This card's kind of crazy for that reason. That is so insane for sure. The only problem is looking at your opponent's hand is like, I know it is really good. I don't even know how to like argue that it's not. Now, does this make Relinquished like a good deck? No, not really. It does have a second effect that like when it's sent to grave, you can like attach an opponent's monster to a Relinquished or a Thousand Eyes monster you control. So like if you use it to fuse or ritual summon into one of them, you can like steal their monster, which is kind of cool. But the big thing here is just that hand look effect, because I mean, even in just a deck that doesn't play like heavy normal summons, you could just tech this card in, just go normal summon, effect to look at your opponent's hand, and now whatever disruptions you have, you now know where to allocate them based on what they have. And it's also powerful because he gets to look, it's a quick effect. So even after they draw for turn, it's not even like they'll have a one unknown card, and like if they can kind of bait everything out because you don't know their last card and then they use the last card and it's a haymaker, you can be in some trouble. Nope, you even get to see that too. So I do think there could be some point in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where like there's a combo that can pull this out, and it's a combo deck, so that it's not only a combo deck, but it's a combo deck that gets to see your hand, and then they can build their board accordingly and know where to throw their interruptions at accordingly. Very, very strong card. I just think it's, I don't know, generically getting to look at the hand is just so incredibly powerful. It's a really interesting card to me. And the last card, this is like without question, right? The best card in the set. Utopic Future, FZero, Draco, whatever. He's insane. This guy, so you make him by overlaying him on top of a regular FZero. And FZero you make by, I believe, just overlaying any 2 Exceed monsters with the same rank. I don't think they have to be number monsters though, but they might. I don't remember exactly. But essentially it's something like that. Like you just need 2 Exceeds with the same rank and then overlay them on top of each other. And then from there you're pretty much good. So there are ways to cheat out Exceeds in the game, and there are ways where you can just Zodiac up 2 monsters and easy peasy, lemon squeezy, no problem. That's pretty crazy. So yeah, I don't know. This card's really crazy. He's a monster negate, but if the monster's on field, he negates it and then steals it permanently. So you just OTK almost guaranteed after that every time, which is insane. This card is definitely a card to look out for. There will be specific decks that can make use of this, including Utopia. This is just another card that like they will have access to once they get their new stuff. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. Really crazy card, but yeah, I think that pretty much sums up everything for King's Court. These are the 10 best cards to me. There are obviously some other choices. Like I said, there are some reprints that are nice, but they're just kind of nice reprints. They're not like insane outside of Lightning Storm and I think World Legacy Card Dragon. But yeah, it's a nice side set. I don't think it's insane. I've already talked about this. But some of the cards in there I will be chasing, like Future and like the Magnet Induction and probably a couple others. So let me know in the comment section down below, like I said at the beginning of the video, what you would swap out in your top 10. What would you change? What would you not have? What would you have? What would you swap in? Let me know down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Subscribe if you haven't, all that YouTube stuff. Bye.